Hello there! This is going to be a little bit different than the usual fare that you might find on my channel, as I just wanted to take a little break, reflect on the last year, 2021, and discuss some of the plans that I have for 2022, and also answer some questions so you can maybe get to know me a little bit better as well. So that's kind of what this is, I guess. So I've published 16 videos this year, which, considering last year, you know, I hadn't really found my stride. I was still trying to I'm still trying to figure out how to use my mic and my camera and how to get lighting and stuff right. But I would argue 16, when it's just me doing, you know, I have people that help me edit my scripts and things, but I would argue that I'm pretty proud of that, so yay for me. 2021 for me was a bit of an odd year. I think for most of us it probably was, as we entered into the second year of the event that shall not be named, and we're still kind of dealing with the different effects and things from that. But I actually was able to continue publishing videos, and it was actually the first year where I was actually able to publish on a semi-regular basis, and I picked up steam a little bit, and I was like, I've really been enjoying it, and I feel like I've kind of found my stride with it. So, you know, I'm kind of proud of myself because 2021 has been a bit of a turbulent year, like as we talked about. But my partner ended up in the hospital earlier this year. And then on the positive side, we got a kitten. And then on the negative side, well, the kitten ended up in the kitten hospital like a couple weeks ago. So it's been a very up and down year. So there's been a lot of highs and a lot of lows. But yeah, it's I'm happy and sad to put this year behind me. But with all of that being said, you know, 2020 and 2021 and all of those lows have kind of allowed me to branch out a little bit. I keep telling people that 2020 has kind of robbed me of any shame that I have. My mindset is nothing matters. I'm just gonna do whatever I want at this point, and I care a lot less about what people think. Like, I still care about what other people think, but it's not crippling to me like it used to be. So that's a thing. But I have really enjoyed the process of researching and editing and putting these videos together, and I'm looking forward to another whole year of doing that. And I've got a lot of other projects planned for 2022, including some more exhibit reviews. I'm hoping, who knows, we're currently staring down a lockdown at the moment, but it would be nice to travel and visit some museums outside of my city. I also have a lot more history style videos planned. I have a bunch of really self-indulgent ones that I'm excited to work on. And I also want to make a part 2 of my COVID video that I made, I think way back in 2020. So I don't think that was published this year, but I mean, we're this far into it, we might as well have a follow-up so we can talk about all of the different things that have happened in the last year and their impact of COVID on museums and the cultural heritage sector. But yeah, I'm just really happy to be here and talking about museums and history, because I don't know if you've picked up on it at this point, but it's kind of my thing. I'm really passionate about it. But yeah, hopefully, you know, just more exhibit reviews. It'd be cool to interview some more curators, more history discussions about some oddball ones that I'm really excited for. I want to talk about MASH, the 1970s, 80s TV show, and their museum exhibition that they had at the Smithsonian. I want to do something with One Piece because I'm a big old nerd and I think it's fun, and there's a lot of weird historical references in there that I think would be fun. I don't know how I'm going to work it into a video yet, but I'll figure it out, so. But yeah, I think just to surmise, you know, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be making these videos, and I hope that you are learning something, or at the very least are entertained by me acting like a fool in front of a camera for 10 to 30 minutes at a time. But with that being said, let's answer some questions that people left for me on my community tab on my YouTube channel and also on my Instagram. So yeah, let's get on with that. So right off the bat, I'm pretty sure that this person Chantal McSkimming sounds like they are a historical costumer, and they're asking a question. Will you tell me how to get the most out of a visit to a behind-the-scenes museum backroom where a garment is ready to be lovingly inspected and annotated? Should we focus on interior construction details or focus on materials and silhouette? Take photos or draw sketches or copious notes? It's actually a really great question. I might not be the best person to ask that, but I think it'll very much depend on how much time you're given. I would always take photos because you can always come back to those. And so long as, you're not using flash and you have the permission of the institution to, there might be rules about sharing those photos. So as long as you respect that, I definitely think that taking notes and taking pictures is a very, very good idea. Taking pictures is what I would do first. And I would also definitely just talk to the curator. They might know something. They can give you the usual spiel about an object, but if you have something specific in mind, they might know something that they don't know to tell you, because, they don't know what you're looking for. So definitely try and discuss what you're trying to find or like your research with the curator, because I'm sure that they would be happy to, help in any way that they can. And I guess as far as, focusing on silhouette versus interior construction, I'm not a seamstress, so again, I might not be the best person to ask about this, but if it were me, I'd say probably focus on the interior construction details, just because, well, if that is something that is possible, depending on how fragile the object is, but just because that is something that's harder to access, and if you have photos of the outside of the object, and you have the opportunity to go and see this garment in person, I would definitely try and, piece together as much as you can while, get those angles and everything that you can't get from, just photos and the outside of the object, the outside of the dress or the coat or what have you. It's a really great question though, and I hope I was able to help a little bit with that. Next question is from Nicholas Elizabeth, and they're asking, how did you decide to work at a museum? Well, they have two questions, but I'll start with that. I decided to work at a museum because originally I actually wanted to be an archaeologist. I followed that career path and I actually worked as an archaeologist for a brief period of time. I realized it wasn't for me, and that really what I wanted to do was something that wasn't labor, because I've done, labor jobs for, at this point, 30% of my life, and my body was getting tired and I was kind of paying the price for it a little bit. And I was kind of more interested in the interpretive side of things and actually caring for the objects. So I, went back to school for 2 years and got a graduate diploma and then fell into a wonderful job. So Nicholas Elizabeth's second question is, what can museum guests do to make your job easier / more pleasant? First of all, go to museums, especially like your smaller local ones that they don't have as much budget to, market or get out there, but, find your smaller museums in your city and engage with the history, ask questions. If there's a docent, strike up a conversation. I've never met a docent that wasn't super passionate about the site that they worked at. I think it's kind of hard not to be. So just, show up and ask questions and engage with the history. And, listen to what the docents have to say, and also, listen to them if they say, please don't touch that, or, no food and drink, just basic respect sort of things, otherwise just show up and ask questions, because I know that docents, and even sometimes I work the floor at the museum that I work at, and I just am giddy as a child to just talk about everything, so. I got a question that was very similar from Instagram and my community tab from Museum Mimi and the Internet Gnome. And essentially the gist of the question is, which item from any museum collection do you think is the funniest or most ridiculous? There sure is a lot, but my go-to is a cabbage rabbit, is what I refer to it as at the museum that I work at. And it is a small rabbit jumping out of a piece of cabbage, and it's actually a wind-up toy, which most guests don't realize. So it originally would have dunked down into the cabbage and then popped out. and it's a little bit terrifying, but I love it. And we actually know a lot about the object. We know that it was, a gift from a great aunt to her godson, and it's just super charming, and I love it. So this is an interesting question from Steve and Kathy Zitveld. They signed both of their names at the bottom of the comment. I hope I pronounced your last name right. I'm sorry if I didn't. How much blowback did you get from your peacock dress video? Other people who spoke out against the project as it was originally conceived were on the receiving end of a lot of hate, including death threats and personal accounts being compromised. So, I never received death threats, and I was thankfully, I avoided most of that. But as far as the peacock dress video is concerned, I actually had to turn my comments, my notifications off because it was becoming quite a lot. People believed that they didn't actually watch the video. They thought that I was trying to criticize and attack Kathy Hay, when I actually talk about Kathy for under 2 minutes of the 21-minute runtime of that video. So it was a little bit frustrating because people were completely missing the point of the video, which was not to criticize or attack Kathy, but was instead to, open up a discussion about museums and decolonization. And that is what I talk about, I wasn't critical of Kathy Hay at all. She actually provided the photos and reached out to me when she found out somehow that I was working on this video. And she reached out to me, and we had a super great conversation, and I asked if she would actually be willing to look over my script just to make sure that, I wanted to talk about her first visit to Kettleston Hall and how the dress was presented and how that might have affected her decision to make the dress. So I wanted to look at the interpretation of Kettleston Hall. I wanted to look at, how it was presented and maybe why somebody might have, an overly kind of grandeur image of this dress in their mind when it has kind of a fucked up history. But for whatever reason, people, they didn't watch the video. They just they came to the comment section to fight, which, it's a YouTube comment section, so you can't even watch, the video. It's 20 minutes. I don't attack Kathy Hay, and I'm critical of the museum, and I'm not trying to attack the museum either. I'm just saying, let's talk about this. I wanted to use this kind of high profile, colonial object as a bit of a case study to bring awareness about decolonization and what that process looks like. Again, like I said at the beginning of this video, I stand by everything I said in the peacock dress video because, again, I'm not attacking Kathy Hay. She literally read the script before I recorded it and was like, great job, and she shared it on her social media, so... But some people, like I said, some people just want to fight, so. But bringing it back around, I'm super happy with that video, and I was really excited to see the positive engagement that it got, and, people commenting, oh, this actually made me think about this thing a little bit differently, and it made me, I'm really happy that this conversation is happening. As much as I sometimes want to rage and scream and shake people and try and, get them to see my side, I want to try and make a, calm and well thought out argument for everything that I say. So I stand by everything in that video, and I'm really proud of it, and I'm happy that it kind of exploded like it did, so. But yeah, that kind of brings us to the end of 2021 and also this video, so. If you are a new subscriber who came with the peacock dress video, welcome. It's lovely to have you here. And if you've been around for a while, hey old timer, thanks for sticking it out with me. I do also, just one last minute plug that I completely forgot about. I also just did a season 1 wrap up of a podcast that I'm a part of called Mortals, and we talk about death and death rights. We've done episodes on everything from the AIDS memorial quilt to the bodies on Mount Everest to Victorian postmortem photography to Scythian kurgans to mummies to... It's a lot of fun, and me and my co-hosts have a lot of fun recording it, and we're looking forward to season 2 in probably February or March. So if you're interested in a podcast to kind of tide you through the next couple months, I'll provide a link in the description. And please follow our socials because we're lonely. So thanks again for a great year, and I'm really looking forward to 2022 and making more content about museums and history and museum history. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time in 2022.